All right, back with you here on the Newsfeed PM. Thanks for staying on. Embattled state-owned entities, the South African Airways and Road Accident Fund, have received major leadership shakeups. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy appointed new boards for the troubled entities, saying this is to ensure good governance. The companies have been plagued by financial and leadership challenges for a while now. For more on this change, joined now by the Deputy Minister at Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa. DM, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Why did it have to be such an urgent and necessary move, particularly at the Road Accident Fund, to get an interim board?
Thank you very much, good afternoon, and good afternoon to the viewers. Well, in the first instance, we have been grappling with quite a number of governance challenges within the Road Accident Fund ecosystem, heightened number of public complaints, and you will then recall that circa May we had a issue which resulted in Parliament, amongst others, indicating that they would be instituting a parliamentary inquiry. We have had Parliament misled in terms of information that has been presented, and overall we were not happy about the direction of the entity, and so it resulted with the dissolution of the board on the 15th of July this year, and therefore we couldn't then have a vacuum in the entity, which then compelled that we ask Cabinet to approve the proposed interim board for the Road Accident Fund. I must indicate we've already actually advertised for the new board to make sure that substantively we will be able to have a board which we are going to interview so that the right skill set is also present within the Road Accident Fund ecosystem. So we're bringing the entity back to basics, to its core function, to make sure that it pays claimants within the stipulated time of the law. We are wanting to stabilize governance. There's an SIU investigation into the Road Accident Fund, which has produced a preliminary report, and we have presented, we've been briefed on that report rather, and we have taken the decision. The Minister has written to the SIU, DOJ, Department of Justice, and the Presidency, calling for and requesting an expansion of the SIU proclamation because it lapses investigations only in 2021. So we want it to be up to date. And lastly, has been the matter around the ongoing frivolous and reckless litigation, which has cost now some 22.5 million rands with the AG around the accounting standards. And so the situation has been untenable with disclaimed audit outcomes. And so an intervention was required. And so hence we have arrived at this moment.
I mean, for South Africans, boards of boards is another human body that is being appointed to sit in a position. It doesn't necessarily build confidence to me that this new board or this interim board has been bolstered in some kind of way in terms of its capacity to address the deficiencies in governments, including the occurrences of default judgments. What have you capacitated this board with that will certainly bolster their ability?
Well, let me start maybe with the issue around the default judgments, because we already, through my office, working with the Deputy Minister of Justice, Andre Snell, to make sure that we work out an operational model and framework for the resolution of court cases. We are due to interact with the judiciary, particularly in Gauteng, because that's where the majority of the default judgments are, and other related Road Accident Fund matters. We are already pushing for mediation. We had the first successful mediation some 3 weeks ago as part of this intervention. So we, as the ministry, are actively involved in the issues that require intervention. Secondly, of course, is that the Act of the Road Accident Fund provides for a board, and therefore we must actually put one in place. Otherwise, we would be found wanting from a legal front and subjecting the entity to non-compliance from that perspective. But of course, we have brought in individuals into the interim board who are going to traverse the broader ecosystem of the Road Accident Fund. One is the financial management, and that skill set is there. We are due to have two major parliamentary interventions in the REF. One is the parliamentary inquiry, which has been formally resolved on, and we are due to submit information to SCOPA by the 20th of August. And secondly is to say we as a department and ministry are going to be reintroducing the road accident benefit scheme, and we know what happened with that bill in 2017. We are angling at no fault judgment, no fault system rather. We are wanting to have a defined schedule of benefits insofar as claimants are concerned, put restrictions on foreign nationals, which is our expectation that when they come to South Africa, they must have insurance and therefore not claim from the Road Accident Fund. And we are also looking at issues of just cleaning up the ecosystem of the Road Accident Fund, and also paying in annuities to avoid a situation of financial recklessness on the part of claimants, to make sure that the funds actually deal with the issues upon which a person is claimed for. So we have looked at that entire ecosystem of what is required and have appointed people in this regard who will respond to that. And we intend, when we appoint the substantive board, and as I'm saying, we've already advertised, and that advertisement closes on the 11th of August, still making a clarion call to South Africans who have got the skills, knowledge, and expertise, who want to put their hands up, but we will be subjecting the whole process to, amongst others, interviews.
Yeah. The other area, of course, is that of filling up of executive vacancies within the organization. Of course, the next question would be, how does that affect the suspended CEO, and what does it mean?
Well, when we met, Minister Creecy and I met the interim board on Thursday evening. Amongst the marching orders which we have given them is to move with urgency on the appointment of executives. In fact, there are 5 executives positions which are vacant or require filling at the Road Accident Fund. On the matter of the CEO, we had a contractual relationship with the CEO. That contract legally and formally ended on the 6th of August. And so that position is substantively vacant, and it is included now in the positions which need to be advertised by the board, and that is what they need to do, consistent with the directive that had come out from the ministry in February this year, that we should start in earnest preparing for that. It was not done. Be that as it may, it is now an apex priority for the interim board to make sure that we get a substantive CEO.
You don't anticipate legal challenges? I mean, his suspension was legally challenged, however, not successfully so.
What I anticipate is the board to move with speed to advertise a post which is vacant, because the contract that we had with the CEO legally and formally ended on the 6th of August. So the matter of the suspension is now secondary, if not mute, to say the least, because the position is legally vacant, and therefore the board has got a duty to run the process and make a recommendation to Minister Creecy, and we will take that recommendation to Cabinet if we so agree with it.
Are you still expecting the CEO to participate and cooperate with your various inquiries that are taking place, including the SIU and others that could be taken up by Parliament?
Well, I imagine he's got a legal obligation, and it is incumbent on him to exercise his legal rights and present himself where is so required, and that is what remains within our purview. We no longer have a contractual relationship with the CEO, a former CEO of the Road Accident Fund.
You've already mentioned that you have established a panel of independent experts to advise the stakeholder and the board on the views of the RAF. What does that mean? What legal standing is this panel, and what powers does it have?
Well, you will recall that the problems within the Road Accident Fund have been rather grave for the longest of time, and so the intervention we have instituted along the same lines as what we did with the same lines as what we have done with the ATNS, is to have a panel of experts to advise us as the ministry, the shareholder, on matters affecting the entity, what recourse we need to do, what reforms do we need to institute. They will assess the bill which we have put together and ensure that it responds to the immediate priorities and core mandate of the Road Accident Fund. And we believe that we need expert advice and guidance, whilst at the same time the Road Accident Fund interim board performs the day-to-day fiduciary responsibilities within the entity.
So can SAA looking, I suppose, fairly good now, especially over the last 2 years, with some improved profitability. What do you expect would be the role played by the new board?
We would like to thank the outgone interim board of the SAA. You will recall that the board came in at a time when SAA was in business rescue. The now failed Takatsu deal, which was on the table. And what we have seen with the outstanding audits has been an improvement in the financial performance of the South African Airways. And thirdly, of course, is that this entity was previously with the Department of Public Enterprises, which is now defunct. And it was transferred alongside with other entities to the Department of Transport in August 2024. What has been the priority on the part of the minister has been to look at the issues at SAA and then appoint a substantive board, because the board that was there was actually an interim board. We have no doubt that the incoming board will build on the gains of the past few years. It will ensure that we continue on a trajectory of improvement. The 17 routes that we currently are operating will be expanded. So there's a route expansion program that is underway, and there's projections of when new routes will be instituted, including long-haul flights. And secondly is to improve the accessibility to aircrafts. We currently have a fleet of some 20 aircrafts, and we are wanting to, by 2030, have some 55 aircrafts to meet the demands in the market. And what we are also looking at, of course, is strengthening our code share operations. It is about continuing to employ more workers back into SAA, which is currently working. And we believe that the foundation is solid enough for us to take SAA forward, to put behind us and close the door on business rescue, as already has been done. And of course, as we are saying, amongst others, there was the South African Airways repeal bill, which was going to facilitate the Takatsu deal. We have formally withdrawn that. And so there is clarity for the entity now in terms of what needs to happen.
DM, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, joining us on the new appointments made at the key state-owned entities, Transnet.